Lot going on around football. No, I'm just kidding. Really, nothing's going on. There's no football for a long time. We had a Super Bowl, though, so we'll talk about that. Some coaching moves. We'll get into that as well. It's time for your favorite open and your favorite show. Jake Coker, Mick Gillispie. It's time for Elephant in the Room. Hit me up. Feels like the world's changed since the last time we talked. We didn't have a Super Bowl champ. I don't know. It was last week, and now here we are. What's up, man?
I think we're number
terrible
one now.
Open. That's a terrible.
Yeah, it was. We're number one now, right?
yeah, it is what it is. All right, let's just get into some topics right off the bat, though. Your thoughts on Super Bowl 59? We saw. Oh, and let me tell you guys, we're brought to you by mybookie.ag. Use that promo code next round to double your initial deposit. All right, and, that they support us, you support them. But look, there were some guys that you probably have seen before. Guy by the name of Jalen Hurts. He was actually, and I don't know if you know this, he was the starting quarterback in 2016 at Alabama. Right, that was right after you left, and then. Yeah, you didn't like that. You got off here. Anyway, he won the Super Bowl, which was really great. And Devontae Smith was on Alabama's team that won a national championship with Jalen Hurts. He was part of that as well. And what a game it was, though. And what a great experience for those former Alabama guys. 7 Bama guys on that team, by the way, Jake. But a huge win for those guys.
Yeah, no, I mean, you got to love being a Bama fan. You got to love that. 7 guys have been there, done that in college, and basically leading an NFL team. Jalen Hurts, I mean, that story, 10, 20 years from now, that should be a movie.
Yeah.
I
went through a lot, man.
I mean, getting benched, coming back in the SEC championship, replacing the guy that he was benched for the year prior, beating Georgia, and then, having a really good end of his career at Oklahoma. Just the way it's all. Well, he was a 5th-round draft pick. I don't know if anybody thought he would have the success that he's having right now. Just like I've said before, you can't count out guys with that kind of mental capability.
Yeah.
I mean, he's so mentally tough, physically gifted. Not to, I wouldn't say the elite pocket passer yet. He's still young. I mean, in NFL standards, for the elite quarterbacks, I think he's only going to get better. But I mean, the guy's the ultimate leader, ultimate guy, the perfect guy to put together a team around and really build from there on out. He allows you to be weak in areas on offense and still overcome those weaknesses because he's so versatile as a player.
Mm-hmm. Well, and part of it, too, is he's on a great team. I mean, this is the greatest Philadelphia Eagles team of all time. And I got to throw, my son's name's Jake, named after Thomas Walter Jackner, who I went to school with at Alabama. And for those of you guys that were there with us, he had the Fat Phillies cheesesteak place right across from the gas station on the Strip. He was the biggest Eagles fan. He was killed in action in 2005, and he would call me when he was working with the CIA over in Iraq, and he would ask me about the Eagles. And I mean, it was always the Eagles. He went and watched the Eagles at Egan's with a guy named Stacy. So you guys, somebody out there knows what I'm talking about. This was the greatest Eagles team ever. And I was thinking about him on Sunday. I'm like, man, this is the Eagles team that Eagles fans have dreamed about having through 59 Super Bowls. And I know they beat Tom Brady, but that was a good team. This team was better. Saquon Barkley, you had A.J. Brown and Devontae Smith. The defense was great. You had Jalen Hurts. This was the greatest Eagles team of all time. And they stopped the three-peat with, they had to overcome Travis Kelce, okay? They had to overcome Patrick Mahomes. They had to overcome the officials and Taylor Swift.
Did you see that guy? Did you see that guy? He asked Patrick Mahomes. He goes, we all know you've had a lot of people that have helped you throughout your career to be, as successful as you are. And he goes, of all those people, who's your favorite ref?
They didn't have a chance. I knew. Look, LT and I did a show on the channel on Super Bowl Sunday. I said the Eagles were the better team, but there's something to be said about knowing how to win. And I've seen like Super Bowl games where when Dallas beat Pittsburgh, with Barry Switzer as the coach, I thought the Steelers were the better team, but Dallas just knew how to win. They had Deion Sanders, they had Troy Aikman, they just knew, Emmitt Smith, they knew how to win. But the Steelers were really good. That Dallas just knew how to win. There were some 49er teams like that. Obviously the Patriots. I mean, they were the kings of just knowing how to win. And then Tom Brady went to Tampa Bay and won one. And Kansas City. I love Kansas City. I really do. I told you this before. I had a night out with Travis Kelce, and I like him. He's a really nice guy. He's cool. That was before he was with Taylor Swift. I'm sure his head's a little bigger now, but no, I'm just kidding. He's actually a really good dude. And I've had Patrick Mahomes on my fantasy team 3 different times, and his dad pitched for the Cubs. So I respect them. But there were 7 Bama guys on that Eagles team. So I'm pulling for the Eagles. Like, come on, man. And they were contributing, man. Like, it was awesome.
Yeah, I love seeing that ball, that deep ball that Jalen threw to our boy, what's his name? Jeez.
Smitty.
Yeah, Smitty. That was of all the nails in the coffin, that was my favorite play of the entire game. Of course, you kind of knew it was already over, but if there was any doubt, that was it. And, the Eagles, they got a culture right now where, I felt like early in the season they were, kind of having there was a little friction there within that locker room, but they figured it out. And I'll tell you what, man, if they can keep that roster together for a while, they may put a few back-to-backers in there,
Yeah. Well, they're set up for it. There's no doubt about it, right?
And that's just a tough team, man. That defense. Who would have ever thought? I would have never thought that. That was basically a shutout. Kansas City never scored until it didn't matter.
Oh yeah.
I never thought you could shut out Patrick Mahomes, especially in a game like in a Super Bowl game or playoff game, one that matters, one you've been preparing for. To have that much time to prepare for that game and you don't score until the game's
pretty much
over with.
Yeah.
And to do that to that team, that offense, and you can say they're shorthanded all you want to up front, but at the end of the day, that's still a Super Bowl team with a lot of superstars.
Yeah, man. I'll tell you, it was. It really
was. And you wonder. You talked about culture earlier. You wonder about. Is that one of those games, a Super Bowl that ends like that? Is that one of those that kind of strips away at the dynasty they've built? Because man, that's a hard game to walk away from when you get blown out like that.
I don't think so, man. Not the way that the NFL is now. When you have Patrick Mahomes, if the offensive line would have blocked a little bit, they would have been in the game. Like, he didn't have any time to throw the ball. They've got to revamp a little bit at the wide receiver spot. And they probably, look, they could use a better running back. But they'll be back. They'll be there. But you wonder about the Ravens. You wonder about the Bills. The AFC is really good. But just, it was really cool to kind of see like this whole, these guys talking about Nick Saban, to hear the impact that Saban had on these guys. And you played for Saban. So you get that. Like, and it's not about just the football. It's like, I feel like you guys got instructed on success for life from Saban.
Oh, it's a foundation that he builds within your character. I feel like, when you go there, and I think guys that Obviously you lose some guys, transfers, or just don't make it. But the guys that stick it out and fight through that process, because when you get in there as a freshman, I mean, for some guys it's different, but it's a very short list of guys that just come in and are playing day one. They're the man day one. But those guys that don't play, that stick it out, that see it from start to finish. I mean, I think his processes, his character, or just the way that he goes about his business every day kind of gets ingrained into you, whether you're playing football in the NFL afterwards or you're doing something else. I mean, the guy, he's so impactful. He's been so impactful in everybody's lives. Whether it's his players, the people that work around him. I mean, again, I've said it before. You look at his disciples, the guys that coach right now around the SEC. I mean, those programs are modeled after one guy. I mean, they're doing a lot of the same stuff he's doing because that's a formula for success. And I swear, I think if Coach Saban was a lawyer, a politician, whatever you name, a CEO, I mean, he'd be successful in whatever industry he participated in.
Mm-hmm. Well, people want him to be the commissioner of college football, and they're serious.
Well, I mean, who else would better fit that position?
Right.
And that guy's ahead of the curve in every single. When he was the coach at Alabama, he was ahead of the curve in every aspect of the game, every aspect of the rules, recruiting, no matter what it was. I mean, he had a plan in place to win, and it was almost like, people finally thought Alabama was going to fall, and you look around and he's changed the game. He's found a way around, whatever rules put in place, whether it be on the field or off the field, and everybody's standing there just like, I mean, when is this going to end? So he's going to have to retire.
They wanted him out, right? Just because they got tired of it,
Yeah, I mean, looking back on games where, I mean, you could call it coaching error in which it caused Alabama to lose, which it's hard to say that because, I mean, I look back, the kick six was really, I mean, you kick that field goal and you don't really have many guys on the field that are able to pursue and make tackles on a returner. That might be the only one where I say, I mean, maybe that's a coaching error right there. And I knew he had a plan for that later on.
Yeah.
But I don't even know if that crossed anybody's mind at the time,
Yeah. Yeah, no doubt. Well, I enjoyed watching it, and I'm so happy for those guys. Devontae Smith caught a touchdown. And it's the first time a quarterback and a wide receiver that were on the same college national championship team won a Super Bowl together, which is pretty cool. And remember, I mean, what I think a lot of us forget that Jalen Hurts started the national championship game in 2017. Because we always talk about Tua, but he started the game,
Yeah.
But everything he did in Tuscaloosa was the right way to do things, man. And I guess that's why everybody loves him. Like I consider him a Bama guy through and through. I know he played 1 year at Oklahoma. It was a good decision for him, but he just did everything the right way. We've all pulled for him, and this was I think part of it's luck, being on the right team, having the right players around you. Part of it is the fact that he wouldn't quit and he kept fighting, and he got better too.
Well, no great quarterback has ever won a Super Bowl without a good team around him.
Yeah, right.
I mean, the only time that I think I've said it on this show, the only time I've ever watched a quarterback be dominant and win a Heisman Trophy, was Cam Newton at Auburn, and I mean with a team that wasn't just dominant everywhere around him or really good everywhere around him. I mean, now he did have Michael Dyer, he had Nick Fairley. That team I think went like 3-9 the next year, and I mean I think they lost those three guys, but Cam Newton was he was like a one-man show that year. It was insane what he was doing, running, throwing. I think he caught a few touchdown passes. I mean, he's like Booby Miles.
Man, the crazy thing to me is just how you're immortalized when you win a Super Bowl. I mean, you really are. Like, and I'm going to give you a list of names, okay? These are former guys that they did what you did. They played quarterback at Alabama. They also won a Super Bowl. One guy, his name's Bart Starr. He was the Packers quarterback, Super Bowl 1 and 2. Then there was another guy named Joe Namath, or Joe Willie Namath, and he won Super Bowl 3. And then Snake, a guy named Snake, Kenny Stabler.
Oh, yeah.
You know him from the Bama, probably. Super Bowl 11. No, I'm just kidding. But these guys are all legends. I mean, really, when you talk about Alabama football, they're legends. But when you talk about football, these are 3 guys that are legends. Jalen Hurts is the 4th. That's pretty damn good company right now.
Yeah, like you said, you win a Super Bowl, you're automatically in. I mean, he's building a Hall of Fame resume already.
Man,
in my opinion.
Yeah.
I mean, you get your name on that list as a quarterback. Yes, it's kind of hard to keep you out especially he's going to have he's probably got 4 or 5 more years playing.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
And I don't know the situation with the team around him, but I don't think many of those guys are going anywhere.
Well, I mean, but the NFL changes so much, though. But yeah, I mean, I agree with you. A huge win, and a great night. Obviously for Philadelphia. And I know there's some Chiefs fans watching, or maybe people that bet on the Chiefs. And I can't help you guys. It wasn't your night. You won 2 out of 3. That's as Meatloaf said. That's not bad.
Well, hey, would you rather have a bad beat at the end, or just know you're going to lose in the first quarter?
Yeah, right. Yeah, right. I think but did you like that? You remember Meatloaf? 2 out of 3 ain't bad. You're probably like, I don't know what he's talking about.
I got the gist.
Okay, just listen to the song on when you're leaving the office for your next meeting. Just punch that in the Apple. All right, so that's fun talking about that. I guess the next thing that we need to get into is that obviously Ryan Grubb's coming in as the offensive coordinator. We kind of knew that was going to happen. At least I did. I mean, how many times did I say it on here since the end of the season? But I love that. Look, I love Nick Sheridan for being a team player, and having someone as good as Nick Sheridan. Like, Alabama is so lucky because they got a guy who's good enough to be an offensive coordinator, that's willing to, take a step back and work with someone like Ryan Grubb for the betterment of the team. And that is a great example to set for any of those guys. And he's going to be coaching quarterbacks. And when you have a quarterback room as talented as Alabama's quarterback room, hey, look, what are you going to tell this guy? Hey, man, like when you're Keelan Russell or you're Austin Mack or you're Ty Simpson and you're not starting, I mean, this guy's going to be like, hey, you know what? Sometimes you do that for the betterment of the team.
Yeah, no, that's right. I mean, look, I like Nick a lot. I'd still feel good if he was the OC next year. I mean, I thought he did a pretty good job. We've talked about that, given the scenario. But you got a guy who's been the offensive coordinator. He's been around that team. He knows who's coming back. I mean, he's really going to be able to help Ryan Grubb as well, especially in that headset mid-game, what he's seen last year, the experience he's picked up. I mean, the more experience you have as a coach, as a whole coaching staff together, and those guys, especially having those guys work together before, I think Ryan Grubb comes in, pretty acclimated to everything that's going on. It's not, again, nice to plug in with a bunch of guys that you've been with in the past. You understand how they communicate, and I mean, all it does is help facilitate that change at the offensive coordinator spot. I do hear, I've been hearing I was hearing Brock Heward talk about Ryan Grubb. I guess it was 2 weeks ago, or whenever Ryan Grubb was announced as the OC at Alabama, and he was talking about. I've never met Ryan Grubb, but I heard he's kind of that old school coach with you'll hear him yelling from across the field. He's driving, practices may be, at a little bit of a different volume in the upcoming year.
And I feel like that's part of what makes the DeBoer team work.
Yeah.
Look at this team. One guy's wearing a wrestling shirt and a hat, and the other guy looks like a lawyer, and we get together and do a show. And maybe they need that too. One guy's going to be yelling and one guy's going to be nice to everybody.
Yeah. You got one guy's the psycho, the other one's the psychologist.
Seriously, though, that's what makes a great team, though. Seriously.
Hey, man, that's at Florida State. You throw an interception in practice, you get cussed out by Jimbo, and then you go have a conversation with Randy Sanders or Damian Craig.
Right. Yeah. Yeah, it's pretty funny. And that's cool. I love that. So that's where we are then. We're kind of in this spot now where Bama's got a new offensive coordinator. We can't get to spring football fast enough. Guys are going to have to be preparing right now. This is going to be an interesting quarterback battle. And I know Keelan Russell isn't going to be ready to contend for this job, but I'll tell you what, man, this guy has a lot of confidence. Like he's ready, and I like that. I like a guy that's coming in like Muhammad Ali. He's not afraid to say what he wants. Hey, I want to win a championship. I want to start at Alabama.
Yeah. Hey, sometimes you got to build yourself up, give yourself that confidence. I hope he's ready. I hope he goes in there and there is a true quarterback battle, because, ready or not, you come in when you come in and you better be ready to go. Otherwise you kind of get forgotten in that first year. You're sitting over there on the scout team and you're not getting the reps you need to get. So, I don't know. I like him. I've seen a little bit of tape on him. He's got all the tools. You just got to wonder, again, how that transition period between high school and college, you're off on your own, and the regimen changes a little bit. You're gonna find out if you love football or not.
Mm-hmm. All right, final topic on today's show, and I'm sure some of you guys are going to watch this before the basketball game, and some of you guys are going to watch it after the basketball game. But Alabama and Auburn are both number one. I'm being serious. One in the AP, Auburn, one in the coaches poll, Alabama, and they're two in the other one. And they're playing in Tuscaloosa on Saturday. And it's the biggest basketball game in the history of the SEC. They've never had 1-1 or 1-2 ever.
Yeah, the only thing that makes me nervous is that this is kind of reminding me of the Ole Miss situation for tonight. Yeah. I see the line is I think we're -3, which I don't like at all. We should be 8 to 10 point favorites over Texas.
Well, it's a trap game.
Yeah, it's a trap game for sure. But you gotta have some balls to bet on Texas tonight. Texas is a 3-point dog. Where do you feel better with $100?
You're right. A home team where everybody's talking about your next opponent.
Yeah.
And you need to be focused on the team that you're playing that particular night.
Yeah. It's right? The game of you got Texas, who, is not a rivalry. It's not, and this isn't football, and you got the game of the century on Saturday.
Yep.
I don't care who you are. It's hard to not look forward to playing your rival in the biggest game that's ever been played in the SEC.
Man, how crazy is this? And I talk about you on the other shows because, you love Bruce Pearl, and he's the coach of Auburn. But you know what? I'm kind of with you on the fact that you almost have to have the Joker to have the Batman, right?
Are you talking about the Joker as in Nate Oates or the Joker as in Bruce Pearl? Because
Bruce Pearl is the
I saw
Joker.
an article. Yeah, I saw an article come out by some Auburn columnist. I'm still not sure if I got catfished on that or not, but I mean, some Auburn columnist. You got to look that up. I can't remember the guy's name. It's Michael something, I believe. But he was talking about how Auburn's built on it's a program built on integrity and making the sacrifices necessary to run a good program and win at the same time. Where Alabama's a win-at-all-cost school. Oh yeah, just low integrity. I mean, it was like what? Good. Yeah. I mean, just dragging Nate.
They're not nice about us. They don't want Nate Oates to beat them.
But this wasn't like a Barstool article, I don't think. I mean, I hadn't heard of this guy, but it just got shared, and I mean, I was like, man, this is crazy. I get the rivalry, but man, he was you just don't see anything like that pop up usually.
Yeah,
from a real columnist.
Yeah, well, yeah, I'm surprised by that myself.
You have to go look into that. We'll talk about it on the next podcast.
Trap games everywhere. Bama's at Texas. Auburn's at Vandy. I loved Bruce Pearl talking about like coaching from. He's like, it'd be like coaching from the end zone. I broadcasted a game from Vandy. It is cool. I like the way that the building's set up.
I've never been in there. I've just always remembered the floor is elevated over the bench.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. I like it. It's old school, man. It feels like you're like at halftime they're gonna have a play in there. Sound of music. Ladies and gentlemen, halftime, we're gonna have the sound of music, and then there's gonna be like people like ah. It feels like that. Oh, anyway, man. Well, look, let's get back together later this week. I know you've got a lot of stuff going on right now. And I do too, but another great show, people. We appreciate you guys so much. MyBookie.ag. That's our promo code. Next round, support them for them supporting us. Be part of what we're doing here. And then catch us on covercrimson.com. That's the message board. Clint Lamb's on there, busting it up. Stacy's on there too. He's doing his thing. Stacy Blackwood, I'm on there. So please be a part of what we're doing. Like, subscribe, and thumbs up as you hang out with us. And we'll do it again later this week, unless you got something to add.
Thursday, let's do it in person.
Let's do. All right, roll Tide.